Hey guys, today's video is going to be a first impression and wear test on the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation and Concealer. I recently picked this up during the Sephora VIB sale on Casey Holmes' recommendation. She has been chatting about this foundation for years, but was recently sponsored by Clinique and has started using it in her videos again. And I was just reminded that I had wanted to try it years ago as well, so I thought I would pick it up. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emily. If you enjoy beauty related content, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's get into this. So I picked up the shade 1 Linen, which is described as very fair neutral. And I talked about this in the VIB sale haul as well, but this is looking really orange to me. And it's described as neutral and for very fair skin. So I've already washed and moisturized my face. I'm now going to prime. So I always use the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. So I'm going to be using that. This just adds a little bit of extra hydration, which is important even if you have oily skin. I have combo skin and a lot of acne scarring, so we're going to see how it holds up with my oils throughout the day and also see if the coverage is good. A lot of the acne scarring I have is very pigmented and dark, as I'm sure you can tell right here. And foundations don't always cover them the best, so we'll see how it does on that. I do have textured skin and a pore issue, I guess. My enlarged pores are definitely one of my top skin concerns. So I have two other primers. I prime my face every single day, so I didn't want to do half my face with no primer because that's just not a realistic test for me personally. So on one side of my face, I'm going to use the NYX Angel Veil Skin Perfecting Primer. This is oil free. I wouldn't say it's quite mattifying, but I feel like it does help my oils a little bit, and I also find it to be a little bit smoothing on my texture especially. So I'm going to apply this on the left side of my face and get my hair out of the way. And on the right side of my face, I'm going to use the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. This is the pore minimizing one. This is also oil free. This is a great pore filling primer. I don't put this all over my skin when I use it. Okay, we've lost the monitor again, so we'll see how this goes. So, like I said, on the right side of my face, I'm going to just put this along the sides of my nose, on my cheeks right here where I have the most enlarged pores, and right on the center of my forehead as well, and just press that in really well. My favorite way to apply foundations is with a beauty sponge. I'm going to use the Real Techniques one today, and I'm not really sure how much to apply, but this does come in a ginormous doe foot applicator. Like I said, this is shade 1 Linen for very fair neutral, and she's dark. Okay. I don't have the fairest skin ever, so when I struggle to find a shade that's light enough for me, that tells me a lot about the foundation, because even at the drugstore I can find shades and I'm not even necessarily the lightest shade. Like in the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation, I think I'm the 3rd or 4th shade in. So I'm really not that fair. I know I look pretty fair depending on my background, especially in my videos. Having the white behind me does help the camera kind of show my skin tone more true to color, as opposed to other times in my videos when I have a more open or dark background. I feel like it color corrects me to looking more white. I don't know. Okay, so this is blending pretty well with the sponge. I know I just went over it a lot. It is very orange. If this oxidizes at all, it's going to be game over. But the other shade that's lighter than this is 0.5 Breeze. That is super pink and definitely would not work for me. I'm trying to drag this down my neck a little bit, but there is a clear difference between my face and my neck. I'm going to be almost more disappointed if I really like this, but the shade is so off because there really isn't another shade that I could get, and I just find it really orange. Like, if the undertone was good and it was just a little bit dark for me, like, I don't mind only using this when I've tanned or keeping it for the summer months, but if it gets any oranger than this, it's going to definitely be a no from me. It's looking really good on my forehead, especially. I have quite a bit of texture up here and also some fine lines starting. Aging is real. It's laying so beautifully on my skin. If only the color was good. And I will be taking you throughout my day as well. Oh, I just got foundation in my hair. Because it could look really good first thing in the morning and then, you know, go downhill from there. But so far, this is looking really good. It is a little bit on the thicker side, but the sponge is doing fine for blending it out. Okay, so I would say the coverage is a solid medium with one layer. I can still see all of my acne marks coming through, my acne scarring, but it's laying so nicely over my texture. It is tacky. There, I've zoomed you in a little bit. Can you see? It's looking very orange compared to my neck and chest, and you can still see all of my acne marks here and my like beauty marks. But it's just laying so nicely. My pores look nice and blurred even on this side with the NYX primer. Of course they look blurred on the Smashbox side, but so far I'm really liking this. While you're still zoomed in, I am going to try and build it up a little bit. Maybe we'll do one side first to see how it goes. I don't want to put too much on and have it look cakey. Okay, it built up pretty well. I mean, this still isn't the most full coverage foundation ever, but it feels pretty comfortable for having this much coverage, I'd say. So I would rather something that's like medium to full coverage and feel better on my skin than having like a thick cake face. So since that built up so well on that side, I'm going to add a few more dots over here to those really dark acne spots. So the color definitely is not perfect. It is pretty orange, I would say. This is definitely not a neutral undertone in my opinion. And I think this is pretty dark for being the second to lightest shade. Like I said, there is one lighter shade, 0.5 Breeze, but that has a very strong pink undertone, which wouldn't work for my skin tone either. I'm pretty neutral, leaning a little bit towards warm. So, I mean, that definitely would not work for me. But I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It has a, I would say, a natural finish. It's not too matte. I still have some life to my skin. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of my face, and I'll update you on how my bronzer and everything laid on top of it. So far I'm really liking it. The only issue I have is with the color. It is 10:06. I'm not sure if you can see that with me covering up my notifications. So it's, I'll say 10 o'clock in the morning is when we had this on. I'm going to try and take you for 8 to 10 hours, see how this holds up. My skin does get pretty oily throughout the day typically, so we'll see If I look a little shiny, I don't mind that. I can blot it off if it's an issue. A lot of times I just leave it. My issue is when my oils start coming through and the foundation is breaking apart. So we will be keeping an eye on that today. Hey guys, so I'm back. It's now 10:20, so I just did really simple, basic face makeup. I already had my eyes and brows done, so that didn't take very long. I think it's oxidizing a little bit more. My face looks significantly darker than my neck and chest, and I think the difference is even greater than, you know, 10 or so minutes ago when I had finished up my face. So it is oxidizing. I've zoomed you right in. We're getting quite personal. I'm not sure if you can tell, but on my forehead there is definitely some dryness happening here. It was worse before I dosed my skin with Fix Plus, and you can't even tell unless you're all up in my grill. So I mean, it's not a huge con for me, but it is something I wanted to point out. Around my pores and stuff here, it is looking fantastic on both sides with both the different primers. And this tends to be my biggest trouble zone throughout the day. That's usually where things start breaking up and looking weird. So right now it looks great. My contour, I struggled to get it blended out really well. We got there in the end, but it did, I mean, take a little bit longer than usual. It might still look a little strange and not perfectly blended, but I'm not a professional. One other area of note is in my chin crease here. It's already settled right here. So I keep patting it out and I set it with powder and it's still doing it. Again, not the biggest con for me, but that is happening. It hasn't settled too much. I mean, it has a little bit into my dimples. Here, I guess this is a smile line, this is a dimple. It has settled a little bit, and I did set my face with powder, so. Alright, so that is my first initial thoughts on this foundation. I will be checking in throughout the day. Hey guys, so I just got finished filming another video, so it hasn't been all that long. It's 10:45 right now, so really not much time has passed at all, but I did want to show you. So like, I'm standing right in my big window, and in the direct sunlight the shade difference doesn't look all that bad in my opinion, but I feel like now you can really see that separation happening in my chin. I'm not sure, yeah, you can kind of see the texture and dryness happening up here on my forehead. We are on my phone, so if the quality isn't all that great, that's why. But other than that, I mean, it is looking pretty good. My biggest issue right now, and what would at this point make me return it, is the shade. And the shade range really sucks. I wish it was better. I do have fair skin, and I feel like maybe that's not talked about enough in the beauty industry. I know we're always saying the shade range needs to be better in terms of darker skin tones, and I 100% agree. Companies need to do way better when it comes to that as well. But also on the lighter shades, I feel like they do light and medium and tan skin really well, but if you're fair or of deeper skin tones, they just completely leave us out. And I keep saying that I am not the fairest of fair. Like, I look like it now because I'm right in my window, but I mean, I'm not the most fair person I know. And people like, I watched the Taylor, which I'm sure everyone knows who she is. She's like the foundation first impressions queen. She is much more fair than I am, and she obviously has the same issue, but I'm not as fair as she is, and I still struggle to find a shade match. So I did just want to mention that, but I'll get off my high horse and continue on my day and check in a little bit. Hey guys, just checking in. It is currently 3 o'clock, so we are at the 5-hour mark for this foundation. My hair is looking crazy, don't mind that. So, I have some thoughts. I don't even know where to start. I'm just chilling in my living room so I can keep an eye on the kiddos outside while I do this. As you can see, I'm pretty shiny, especially right here, which I mentioned earlier is my trouble zone, and I am getting pretty oily there, but not to the point where I feel like I would have to blot right now, and the foundation is not breaking apart in the oily areas, so it is holding up. It's just not controlling the oil from happening, if that makes sense. It is still coming through, but it's not breaking apart the foundation. It is settling into my fine lines pretty heavily in this like frown, is that called a frown line on my forehead right here. It's in there pretty deep, which I don't like. I might try and tap that out after this check-in to see how that goes. It's creased in my chin as well, but that it did that pretty immediately. I showed you that first thing this morning when I applied it. I feel like my cheek products are a little patchy right now. Like this right here is acne scarring, but on this side, like right about here, it's my bronzer looks like it's missing a patch right here. I do have a baby at home. Maybe he smudged it off my face. It's hard to tell sometimes. So far, I am enjoying it. This is definitely not the worst foundation I've ever used, but it's definitely not going to be holy grail for me. We will see. It might be something I return just based on color, but in terms of longevity, I'm actually pretty impressed so far at the 5-hour mark. It looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to try and tap that out with my beauty sponge. I won't apply any more powder or anything though for a check-in later tonight. So I'm going to wear this for 4 or 5 more hours, and I will see you tonight. Alright guys, so it is 7:30 p.m. My voice is getting raspy apparently. So I've had this foundation on for 9.5 hours. Most of it is worn off, so I figured I might as well end the video here and not go the full 10 hours. I mean, 30 more minutes isn't going to make that big of a difference anyways. It has worn off because I was attacked with baby kisses, so that's really not the foundation's fault. It's still completely intact on my forehead. My oils are like shining through, and it's definitely not transfer proof. I'm getting the foundation on my hands, so that is something to keep in mind. But it didn't break down through the day. It's not going to be a new holy grail for me, that's for sure. I definitely have foundations I like much more than this. Here it's pretty much all gone on my chin, like I said, baby kisses, but I mean, it wasn't all that oil controlling. I don't know, my biggest issue right now is the shades though. I will continue to wear this to test the actual formula, and then if Clinique does ever come out with an extended shade range, if I like it, I will pick it up again. But this was just my first impressions. Overall, I think it's a good foundation. I don't think that it is great. It doesn't top Estee Lauder Double Wear or the Too Faced Peach Perfect foundation for me, that is for sure. I like those ones much more than this one, and I was expecting it to be much more full coverage than it was. I would say this is about medium coverage. You can still see all of my acne scarring through it, and that line, the deep line that had formed on my forehead, like in between my brows, it was this one right here. It did buff out really well, and actually it didn't really settle in again, so I must have been frowning a lot in the middle of the day. I'm not really sure. And it didn't settle too bad in my smile lines and dimples, but there are little creases there, and Well, there's really no foundation left on my chin, so, but it had settled there as I pointed out in the other clips. So that is my first impressions on the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation and Concealer. If you enjoy foundation videos, then give this a thumbs up so that I know I'd love to do more. What foundation would you like to see me do next? Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!